Happy holidays, Resolvers. We're going to be taking a little break for the next 2 weeks as we celebrate the holidays with our friends and family, but we thought we would give you a couple short stacks. We love you so, and we hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and we hope you have an amazing 2022. See you soon.
This podcast contains adult language and stories of true crime. If you don't like laughing, crying, or being horrified at the actions of other humans, this podcast is not for you.
Hi, patrons. Welcome to North Carolina. We're here.
I know nothing about North Carolina.
Dirty South.
Oh,
Just came from it.
It's a little less south than South Carolina.
A little bit. One might say it's more north.
Yeah, there's a lot to know about North Carolina. It's a lot different than South Carolina. It really is.
Yeah.
They're very, very, very different places.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. Isn't that where your family is from, Eliza?
Both north and south. Yeah,
Okay.
my family's from South Carolina, but then when my grandma moved and lived by herself, she moved to Holden Beach, North Carolina, which
Nice.
is where my great grandma lived and where I'd spend many a summer driving around by myself, driving to Charleston by myself, long drive.
Cool.
But I have never been anywhere else in North Carolina besides flying in there and then Holden Beach. I would love to go to Asheville someday.
Mm-hmm.
More the inner mountain, foggy mountain area.
Yes.
Smoky Mountain? Okay, so a couple facts. North Carolina is nicknamed the Tar Heel State because workers used to sell tar, pitch, and turpentine. And it used to be sort of a slur, like for a low-class job. But then North Carolina, during one of the wars, sort of took it, either revolutionary or civil, I'm not sure, sort of took it as reclaimed the Tar Heel slur as a item of pride, basically.
Yeah, because they still have a sports team named that, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
maybe one of the colleges. And it is the 12th state, so we always think of all these northeastern states, but these ones down there are early on too in all of them. Old places. The state bird is the cardinal, and the state flower is the flowering dogwood.
Cute.
A couple silly laws. So I found this one on several sites. It's a felony to steal more than $1,000 worth of grease. It becomes a felony at $1,000 worth.
Grease?
Grease is important to people in the South.
Like to cook with?
Oh yeah.
I was going to say like bacon or like car.
You gotta. Oh, it's cooking grease.
Okay.
Weird.
Yep. It's against the law to.
Can't get over that.
Also picturing what amount of grease is $1,000 worth?
Yeah.
Whoa. It's gross.
Dangerous. It's against the law to have elephants plow your cotton fields.
Oh,
Just don't do it.
Oh,
I would have loved to have seen the first guy that tried that.
Before North Carolina got its own lottery, it was illegal to be in mere possession of a lottery ticket. You'd be
Weird.
fined $2,000. You couldn't even have one until they got their own, I guess. This one I saw on several sites and worded a little bit differently, but this says if a man and woman. So one of the things said a man and woman are not allowed to go to a hotel and stay in the same room if they're not married. And then this goes farther and says if a man and woman who aren't married go to a hotel and register themselves as married, then according to state law, they are married. So I think those laws like work together to the loophole of it, basically. I don't know.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my god. They're like, no adultery will be committed here.
You better be
Must.
into that tryst, baby.
Yeah.
You better
Yep.
love that tryst.
Bingo games may not last more than 5 hours.
Oh my gosh, I'm really tired thinking about that.
Uh-huh. And a very, very normal one, it's illegal to rollerblade on the state highways. So
That's
just
for your
don't do
own
it.
safety right there.
Okay. So I was looking for cases, of course, because this is what we do. And yet North Carolina has so many, it's hard to choose. And then so many of the good ones have been covered extensively. So, for example, we covered Rhonda Hinson. That was in North Carolina. That's the rifle through the back window, rifle shot. Debbie Wolf, who was found in the oil drum outside her house in the lake.
Okay.
I was going to cover the murder of Faith Hedgepeth, who was an undergraduate student at UNC who was found dead in 2012, but Crime Junkie and the Murder Squad covered it.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I think I listened to the Murder Squad one.
Yeah, I didn't listen to. And then as I'm looking, I find that. And then as I'm trying to decide if I'm still going to cover it, a man was just arrested in that case, last week or the week before.
Yeah, they just talked about that on the Murder Squad.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So then I also listened to a whole podcast series because once I thought, I want to cover this one, I realized there's a podcast series. I thought, maybe I could still cover it. So I listened to the whole thing. It's called The Long Dance, and it's about the Valentine's Day murders
Yes.
of Patricia Mann and her fiance Jesse McBain, who disappeared from a lover's lane in Durham and were found dead tied to a tree in 1971.
Oh, yes. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was a really good podcast.
The series is great. And yeah, that case is still unsolved. So I didn't want to cover that because they've already done a great job. But so then I thought, okay, well, North Carolina is very old. Maybe I'll just take patrons and Carlin and Allison on a spooky season tour of North Carolina since it's October.
Oh my
I
God, you
love
got
it.
into the spooky.
Aren't you proud of me? I
I
spooked
am.
it up.
That's so great.
She's serving up some spook.
Serving up some
Love
spook.
it. Right.
And there are so many to choose from. I'm just going to cover a few little stories. A lot of them happen to be ocean/maritime spookiness, which is interesting. Okay, so the first one is, do you know who Edward Teach is?
No.
Edward Teach is the real name of Blackbeard, the pirate.
Fun.
You can go in North Carolina to Teach's Hole, which has it's like, I don't know, not a shrine to him, but it's just like all Blackbeard themed.
Ooh.
Edward Teach, who's better known as Blackbeard, terrorized the seas aboard his ship, which I never knew the name of it, called Queen Anne's Revenge.
Ooh.
In the early 1700s. And we've all heard this. We've all heard the stories. He's pillaging. He's plundering. He is the most dreaded pirate on the seas. But his reign of terror came to an end on November 22nd, 1718, off the coast of Ocracoke Island. Virginia Governor Alexander Spotswood sent a ship commanded by John Maynard to track and kill Blackbeard. While anchored in Teach's Hole, just off of Ocracoke in North Carolina, Maynard was able to surprise Blackbeard and his men. And so they had an epic pirate ship battle, just like we see in Pirates of the Caribbean and all that. And they were able to unsure, but either kill and then take Blackbeard, or they captured him and took him and killed him. And I did not know this part, but to prove that he was dead, Maynard cut off Blackbeard's head and hung it from the bowsprit of his ship.
Oh.
And then threw the body overboard.
Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
And then, of course, because we got to get some spooky time going, the legend has it that as the body hit the water, the head of Blackbeard shouted, "Come on, Edward." And his headless body swam around the boat 3 times before plunging into the deep.
Okay. That sounds very Looney Tunesy to me.
Very. I'm just picturing a nice breaststroke, maybe, with a headless body. But to this day, Blackbeard's ghost is said to still haunt Teach's Hole in search of his missing head. And of course, he literally asks, "Where is my head?"
Oh my god.
And then, of course, people see strange light that they call Teach's Light. And it's a place that people go to try to see the light or maybe the headless ghost floating under the surface of the water.
Oh my god. Okay.
I know. Okay, so that's our first maritime-ish one. This one is a college one. So East Hall of Appalachian State University is a very normal space in this, just like any other college town or college built in the early 1900s, early to mid. And the story begins in the early 1960s. There's really nothing special about the hall, except for in the early 1960s, it was called Appalachian Teachers College. And the East Hall is U-shaped and built into the side of a steep hill. And two of the wings, because it's built into the side of a steep hill, have 3 stories. And the oldest wing has 5 stories.
Okay.
So on the lowest floor of the 5-story wing, which is considered a basement, in the 1960s, a young woman, and I couldn't find her name, took her own life, and her body was discovered hanging from a long silk scarf in the restroom.
Oh, no.
Just really terrible. Then, ever since then, the East Hall, the whole thing, is considered to be one of the most haunted places. And not only one of the most haunted places, but it also affects the mental health of the students who live there.
Oh, no.
So a couple of the hauntings, people living in the East Hall report hearing faint whispered voices when walking in the hallway. They say they've woken up in the middle of the night to see strange balls of light hovering near the ceiling of their dorm rooms. One student reports being pushed over by something that was unseen. And another says on his way to the bathroom, he heard a voice saying, "My dorm." And then as soon as it happened, he experienced what felt like a hand pushing against his forehead.
What?
That's a bully ghost.
A bully.
It's a frat boy.
Probably. The strongest presence of the spirit seems to be in the basement where the woman was found. Students report feeling cold spots when walking through the basement, feeling a presence. And then what I think is the creepiest part is the East Hall has a reputation for being a spot for student breakdowns and mental health problems, like I said. Students who live in the dorm exhibit a bizarre variety of eccentric and even psychotic behaviors.
Oh.
And the campus mental health services keeps a quiet watch on the students in that dormitory, and they have nicknamed the first signs of mental illness as going east.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Has the building been checked for black mold?
Seriously.
Oh my gosh, that is a good point.
Right? It's old.
Yeah.
And there's probably lots of layers of like sheetrock and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the sort of behavior that people who have been exposed to black mold
That is so true.
Or maybe a carbon monoxide leak or something.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
So, of course, again, this is legend building off of a terrible thing that happened, and then who knows what the actual source is. Okay, so then the Cape Hatteras Island and Lighthouse. I grew up with a picture of Cape Hatteras on my wall in my house. It is, my dad loves lighthouses and has been there. I think I've been there too. You've probably seen it. It's the tallest brick lighthouse in North America, and it's white and black, and the white and black swirls up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really pretty. So there's a couple ghosty things there. The most well-known is that of a ghost ship called the Carol A. Deering, which washed ashore in 1921 on the Cape Hatteras Island without any passengers or equipment on board.
So creepy. Ghost ships are so
They're
creepy.
No one was there.
Oh my
No one.
God.
I am always like, what the fuck happened?
Yes.
What
Oh
happened?
my
Where is everybody?
And when people walked on board, there was food still laid out on a table for a meal. Like a meal had been set.
So it wasn't like a giant wave, like a king wave or something. came and
Yes,
washed them
exactly.
off.
Nothing
Yeah.
like rocked the king wave, honey.
King, honey.
King waves. You gotta watch out for them. But usually when there's a ghost ship, that's what people speculate is that a wave came and knocked the crew off.
Everyone
But if
off.
Yeah, but if there's
Right.
food on the table, then that wasn't it.
Oh my gosh, what happened?
What happened? A little bit more about that. So the Carol A. Deering set sail in August of 1920 from Norfolk, Virginia in totally great shape, experienced captain and a crew of 10 men, and they were bound for Rio de Janeiro with a cargo of coal. So the ship departed, and Captain William H. Merritt fell ill a few days later and had to be replaced by Captain W.B. Warmell. The ship delivered its cargo on schedule and set sail to return in December. So a lightship keeper named Captain Jacobson aboard the Cape Lookout lightship in North Carolina sighted the vessel and reported that the Carol A. Deering hailed the lightship, and an unidentified crewman reported that the ship had lost its anchors. So Captain Jacobson took note of this, but was unable to report it due to his radio being out. He would later describe the crew of the Carol A. Deering, quote, milling around suspiciously on the foredeck of the ship. Just kind of like walking aimlessly.
Creepy.
Yes.
What the fuck?
Maybe they were already ghosts.
They were already ghosts. Oh my God.
Maybe they ate that bread that the Salem witch trial girls ate
Yes.
and they were just tripping their balls off.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Right? Like, think about how creepy that is. Like, all of the crew just wandering around
Yes.
on the deck of the boat.
Because the lightship guy would not have written it down
No.
if it weren't weird.
Yes.
Totally.
If something wasn't off about the way they were walking around.
Also,
Totally.
how do you lose all of your anchors? I wonder, is
Yes.
that like a
Yeah.
easy thing to do? It seems like it would be difficult to lose
Yes.
if there's more than one.
Yes.
All of them?
Yes.
Whoa.
What happened?
So then 2 days later, a Cape Hatteras Coast Guard station spied the ship aground and helpless on a place called Diamond Shoals with its sails still set and its lifeboats missing. But the surf boats couldn't get out to the ship until February 4th when they found that the Carol A. Deering was completely abandoned. The crew had vanished like ghosts. Gone were all their personal belongings, their key navigational equipment, papers, and, like they had reported, the ship's anchors were gone. Even the FBI got involved because this is not like 1700s. This is the 1900s. But no trace of the crew was ever found, and the ship's logs have never been recovered.
Oh
What
my God.
happened?
What happened?
But the rescue boats were gone, or whatever they're called.
Yeah,
The
the
lifeboats
lifeboats
were
were gone.
gone.
But then, like, no lifeboats remains or whatever have ever washed aboard.
Also,
and
Then why would
or
you take
washed
all that
ashore.
stuff into
Exactly.
lifeboats with you?
Yeah.
I don't think you can fit all that stuff if you get into a lifeboat. Certainly not like all of your personal effects and all of your equipment, right?
And if the
And the
ship
whole
was...
crew.
yeah.
And there's a lot of little islands along South Carolina and North Carolina,
Yeah.
little, like, jetting out pieces of land. So for the schooner to, like, run ashore near Cape Hatteras, they were not that far away from land. So if they had gotten in their lifeboats, why couldn't they have... What happened
to
that they
shore.
couldn't get there? Yeah.
Weird.
Oh my God! I
And they're
want
just
to
gone.
know.
And so it's also called the Ghost Ship of the Outer Banks.
Ugh.
So one of the suggestions that talks about what happened is, of course, pirates. but then also the Bermuda Triangle.
When did pirates stop? Like, what?
Yeah, when did pirating end? We need to know that.
Apparently it was still happening in the 1920s. Yes.
Jeez.
So some people say maybe it was the Bermuda Triangle, but I feel like they were seen outside of the Bermuda Triangle by that one guy when they're milling around. Okay, so another thing about Cape Hatteras is the Cape Hatteras black cat. So there's a legend of a ghost cat, a large black and white cat that visitors have seen in and around the lighthouse for more than 100 years. And the black and white cat, matches the Cape Hatteras lighthouse. Visitors have reported having the cat rub up against them, but when someone tries to pet or pick it up, it vanishes.
Shut the front door.
So then of course, the legends have converged, and some people say it was a lighthouse keeper's cat that is still there or died there. Others say that the ghost ship I talked about, the only living soul on the ghost ship was this black and white cat.
Oh.
So they have converged, and who knows what's real.
Oh my
Or
gosh.
none of it's real. Okay. 2 more.
That's creepy though. That
Oh my
people
God.
seeing it.
This is so much fun. I am having so much fun.
Oh,
right
wow,
now.
that's good.
Honestly, though, typical cat behavior.
Totally.
Typical
Just
cat
vanish when trying to be
behavior. Yes. Or picked up. Do not pick that cat up. Okay, this one is creepy, and I had never heard of it. It's called the Devil's Tramping Ground, and it is we'll post pictures of all of this, but the Devil's Tramping Ground is just south of Siler City in the Pine Woods of Chatham County, and it's a 40-foot diameter circle that is completely barren and dark among the woods. Nothing
no,
can
thank
grow
you.
there. Nothing can grow there. It is so creepy looking.
I think I've heard of this.
What the what?
And it's one of the theories is it's called the Devil's Tramping Ground because people say at midnight the devil crawls through a path in the woods and walks in circles on this tramping ground, which has made it unable to inhabit life.
No.
There's a lot of creepy wandering in North Carolina.
Yes,
A lot
lots
of
of
aimlessness. I wonder if they must have tested the soil, right? There's got to be a reason.
Yeah, is there
But it's just
intense
strange
radiation
that
or
it's-
something?
Right.
It's just strange that it's right in the middle of all of this other
Other
growth.
vegetation, yes.
Oh,
Ooh.
There's a sign, if people want to go find it, there's a sign that calls it the Chatham County Vortex. Yeah, so apparently the devil comes at midnight, sneaks up one path, stomps around in a circle for a while, and leaves along a second path. And in
He's
the
just throwing a
process,
hissy fit.
the devil kills all life within the circle.
Oh.
Some other theories are of why is because, according to one version of the story, the ground was the site of a battle between 2 rival indigenous tribes, and blood spilt on the ground soaked it during the battle, and ever since then, nothing has been able to grow. Another version says that the location was the burial ground of a tribal chief, and out of respect for the chief, the gods keep the site barren. And a more modern day explanation, real scientific. You mentioned radiation. Well, did you ever consider that it's the site of a UFO landing, and the radiation from the UFO's engines permanently destroyed the fertility of the
It's a
site?
big old crop circle, honey.
that's
It's a big old-
obviously what
that's
it is.
That's it. So, that is weird. I didn't, because I'm covering a few different things, I should have looked up, has soil actually been tested?
Yeah.
I'm sure it has.
But I'm sure it has. It's truly, it looks burned. But
fucking
for
weird.
hundreds of years, it has been this way.
So bizarre.
I don't like it.
It's
and I
weird.
don't feel like it's safe for people to go there.
Yeah, honestly.
It's true. If you don't know what's causing something that's doing that to the
Yes,
vegetation, you
yes.
probably shouldn't be hanging out.
It
around
looks burned. It's like black.
there. Wow.
That is so weird.
I know.
I can't wait to see pictures.
Yeah. Okay, so one more for you. This is also sort of maritime-y, but it also has to do with a song that I listen to almost every day, and a person who my daughter still thinks first name is Dear and last name is Theodosia.
Oh.
My daughter calls her Dear Theodosia, not just Theodosia. So this is a story about, which I did not know anything that happened to her, Theodosia Burr Alston, who is Aaron Burr's daughter.
I know about this.
This is crazy. So she had a very sad life. Really difficult things happened to her in 1812, along with the war starting, the War of 1812. She also lost a son who died. And she starts to be really depressed. And of course, no one knows how to treat women who are having a hard time during this time. So she is staying in South Carolina, and she is going to go see her father in New York, who I think at this time is the vice president, but I'm not sure if he was in 1812. So her husband, Joseph Alston, was the governor of South Carolina during this time, and she's going to go to New York. So she gets on this ship called the Patriot, which boards in Georgetown, South Carolina. And it was a famously very fast ship. Burr, her father, wanted someone to travel with her. And because her husband was the governor during a war, he could not leave. So her father arranged for Timothy Green, who was an old friend, to accompany her on the boat, especially since she's depressed and having a hard time. And it actually took her a while to even be able to get on the boat. She was so downtrodden and basically ill. So she gets on the boat. It's fast. It's supposed to get to where it's going very quickly for boats during that time. So, speaking of Cape Hatteras, immediately following her boarding the ship, it's going north. It goes up by Cape Hatteras, and it's believed that something happened near there because the boat and the people on the boat were never seen again. The Cape Hatteras area is notorious for shipwreckers who lured ships into danger.
What?
So one of those wreckers groups who operated out of Nags Head, North Carolina, were known as the Carolina Bankers, and they were known for pirating wrecks by first making the ship wreck.
Wow.
So they would flash lights to try to lure ships, we're supposed to go this way. They'd try and mess up their coordinates, or they'd know a lighthouse is here, so they know where they're going.
So they're land pirates.
They're land pirates, except then when the ship crashes, they take their ship and they go out there and they pillage and plunder the ship once it has crashed.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So they were just pirates that didn't have their own ride.
Yes.
They were lazy
Yes.
pirates.
So, this is how they do it. So on stormy nights, the bankers would hobble a horse, tie a lantern around the animal's neck, and walk it up and down the beach.
Oh my God.
Sailors at sea could not distinguish the bobbing light they saw from that of a ship which was anchored securely. So they're making the horse kind of walk funny.
God. That is so specific.
It's so
Whoa.
terrible. So often those ships would steer toward shore to find shelter in a storm, and instead they became wrecked on the banks, and the crew would be killed because the wreckers would come and kill them.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Terrible. But it's unclear if that's what happened because literally no bodies were ever found. There are people believe different things have happened. But the last crazy thing about the Theodosia Burr thing is that a portrait, so of course it's so sad she dies. Aaron Burr is obviously a very tragic figure in history. The story of her birth is really interesting because her mother was English during the Revolutionary War. Anyway, a portrait of Theodosia Burr turns up in a fisherman's cottage near Nags Head in 1869. So the story goes that a man named Dr. William Poole was called in to treat a poor fisherman's elderly wife who was near death. This is after their shipwreck. The doctor offered what treatments he could to ease the woman's pain, but there was nothing really he could do for her. The fisherman was grateful, but he didn't have any money. And so he looked around and he offered the doctor an oil painting that he had of a young woman. And the doctor, Dr. Poole, asked the fisherman how he got this portrait because it was clearly like worth a lot of money. The fisherman told the doctor that many years ago, a young woman had drifted ashore in a rowboat near Nags Head. The woman had no memory of who she was or where she was from, but she had the portrait with her, and that's all she had.
What?
So the members of the village cared for the young woman and nursed her back to health. And eventually she settled down in the community, and the fisherman took her as his wife. So this woman who's sick is this woman. And the portrait is the only thing she had with her. And she didn't know how she got on this boat.
Oh my God.
So they had hung it in their cottage and lived the rest of their lives. And then this woman gets really ill and old. So the doctor said he would take the painting as payment. And this ill woman hears this, rises. This is where I don't know how much of this is true. The ill woman rises out of bed and says, "It is mine. You shall not have it. I'm on my way to visit my father in New York. And I'm taking this picture of his darling Theodosia." The old woman seized the portrait, this is where and ran into the waves and was never seen again. But the portrait floated back onto the beach.
All right, you lost me.
I know. I know. But that is weird. Where did this portrait come from? Because why would it be in North Carolina?
And they knew for sure that it was of Theodosia?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
It is now this same portrait, which is called the Nags Head Portrait of Theodosia Burr. You can see the painting in Farmington, Connecticut now in a Lewis Walpole library.
Whoa.
But so that portrait really was found in North Carolina, unsure of why. And it does make sense that they'd find this portrait near maybe where she was lost at sea if she was taking it with her. Just weird. And I did not know that she had been lost at sea. That is so sad.
I knew that she had been lost at sea, but I didn't know this whole other crazy story.
And I didn't know about wreckers. I did not know that that was a thing that people did offshore. That is horrible.
It's terrible. It's very smart, but it's terrible.
Horrible. Sorry, when I said no bodies had been found, some were not able to be identified, so they're buried on like farms and stuff in that area. But it's unclear if Theodosia Burr's body was ever found.
Oh my gosh.
And the man that she was traveling with, they never heard from him again either?
Not that I could find.
Whoa.
Yeah. And that's also what's crazy. Like, if the War of 1812 hadn't been happening, her husband probably would have gone with her. Mm-hmm. But if he had, he was the governor of South Carolina, and he would have died too.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like, yeah, it's just crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I did not know that. Anyway, that's just that one's less creepy, but when I saw that, I had to include it because I never knew about it.
It's creepy.
So that's just a Creep Town tour. I mean, yeah, that is creepy. The portrait thing is weird. I don't really understand that.
That is weird.
Oh my God, that was so fun.
Oh, there are so many others. I also wanted to do, and maybe when South Carolina comes, well, like Carlin was just in Charleston, and there's a lot. It's so sad, but of course, enslaved people who were forced out of their homes from Western Africa brought with them so many, like, not religious but spiritual beliefs that you still see in especially South Carolina today, like the bottles hanging from trees upside down, or like wrought iron poles, or the reasons why they painted the ceilings of their verandas or big porches on the big houses in Charleston is because of enslaved people wanting that to protect them from spirits. They painted them blue.
Wow.
Oh, I've seen that, and I always like the way it looks, but I didn't know
Yeah.
why.
So there's a lot of that culture still there,
Yes.
and spirity
Also, basically
stuff.
all the food
You're right.
is
So it
taken
is. So
from the
it's
black
just
people. Yeah.
yeah. It is a very, very interesting, very sad place. And then, of course, indigenous people, too, who, yeah. So there's a lot going on in the South. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I was just going to
Anyway.
say, maybe we need a new
go ahead.
series called Maritime Crimes.
Maritime
God.
crimes.
Or
Seriously.
Just
Ghost
tell me all
ship.
about ghost ships.
Yes.
Places where people wandered around creepily for a while.
Yes.
I am here for all of that. It's
Yes.
so fun.
So
Oh
weird.
my gosh,
Oh,
that
wow.
was delightful.
Yeah, well, we'll have pictures because all of this needs pictures with it.
Totally.
Yes. I'm so glad you did that. We've all talked
know.
about doing something like that.
A little compilation.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you can't choose, you got to do a little of everything.
Yes.
Yeah, for
Love
sure.
it.
All right.
Thanks, patrons.
We love you.
We love you.
ya.
Bye.
I go hop in my ghost ship now. Bye.
Okay, bye.